Hey everybody, welcome to Just Kicking It with Cas and Omieka. Hey Omieka,
Hey, Cass.
how you doing today?
I am well. How about you?
I'm well, but we're gonna tell the people the truth, right? We are both well, but we are both spent. But we are a
Yes,
living example of just getting it done, doing it even when you're not supposed to be
persevering.
doing it. Yep, yep, yep.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely.
Yep,
Yes, I
yep.
think for the both of us today, life has been lifing.
Life has been
It's
life,
just
yes, ma'am.
one day, and but we're here. We made it because the people are
Right,
here. They want to hear from us. They want to engage with us. So yeah,
right.
we are here, and we're going to
Yeah, yeah,
do
yeah.
it, and we're going to have a blast doing it. How
We're
about
gonna
that?
have a blast. Yep, we're gonna have a blast. So I do have something I do want to talk about. I
Uh huh.
kind of teased it last week, and just coaching myself. I'm gonna bring it back up, and you can be like, "Yeah, you did talk about it last week." After you said you wasn't gonna talk about it, but I'm gonna bring it back up, and I'm gonna explain why I'm bringing it back up. So I
Hmm.
recently became a real estate agent, but I haven't really let it be known to my audience quite yet, and that's because the current audience that I have on LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook, they're following
Hmm.
me to get help with coaching on content, on marketing, on personal branding, right? But what was weird is when I kind of brought it up in this environment, it felt very comfortable with me because one, it was like an easy transition. Maybe it's also easier for me because I know that only a small percentage of my audience is watching this podcast. So it's not
Hmm.
necessarily for them, it's for almost like a new group.
Yes.
And 3.3 is I think I figured out how I want to interject, what I'm doing currently with what I have been doing. And
Okay.
in the middle of that, Omika, what has come up is I've learned a valuable lesson in real estate that also applies to business owners and it applies to personal branding. Before I get to that, I want to walk through like my platform for that. So for real estate, I plan on just keeping that on YouTube. I'm still talking about content marketing, but when I look at everything, when we talk about personal branding, content marketing, when I talk about sales, it rolls up into marketing, right?
Yes.
So, and when I'm talking about real estate, me after just starting and getting my feet wet for the past 2 months, I think I'm gravitating to the marketing side of real estate.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's making sense. So marketing in real estate is primarily just helping people sell their homes. So it doesn't mean that I will never help people buy homes, but I want to
Hmm.
focus in on that because that's what I've been doing for years. Is still
Okay.
helping sell, and whether
Hmm.
that's by using video, that's what I teach on this side. So I'm like, why can't I do what I've been teaching and use myself as a case study?
Okay.
So
Good
we're gonna
point.
roll with that.
Okay.
Stage two. Stage two. So now that I put that out to the universe, I'm a real estate agent. Hey guys, right? This is still going to be entrepreneurship, et cetera. But every now and again, I'm going to dip into marketing and touch on something I learned from real estate. So the two biggest things that I've learned from real estate so far, which have nothing to do with real estate, but has everything to do with sales and entrepreneurship and being a business owner, is
Hmm.
number one, people don't know how to be on time.
Not at all.
People do not know how to be on time. So when um, I try to help as many business owners as possible, especially like new business owners, but even some seasoned business owners. And when they're like, "Hey, Cass, I want to get help with my personal branding. I don't know where to start."
Hmm.
One of the things, or one of the places where you could start is by being like a better steward of your own time, like
Yes.
being the captain of your own ship. And this is not going to just help clients. I think it's going to help your business partners, people that again you work with, obviously customers, but even sometimes vendors. I think that when you are on time, some people might say, hey, you're early, or hey, you got here before me. They might throw something out, but when you're late, sometimes they don't say anything at all. But you know what? They never forget it. And then what
Always
happens
in the back of my
is
mind.
in the back of the
Hmm.
mind. So what happens is when you're consistently late over and over again, believe it or not, you are deteriorating your personal brand. So I wanted to touch on that with branding But then it goes to one more step, something I learned in real estate. The second thing that I've noticed a lot, and then I'm applying this towards business owners and even business owners that I've worked with, people don't follow up.
No.
People don't follow up. So people are not on time and they don't follow up.
Mm-mm.
In my opinion, I'm going to talk about following up in a second, but in my opinion, because now that I'm looking at, partners and people that I work with and other realtors, and even with clients, and again, let's go back to partners for a second. I'm like, one, they're not on time, and two, they're not even following up with customers, with their partners, with other agents. And then I went back and I thought, like, how often is that happening in just regular business? Where I know recently you tried to get something done at hair, nails, something like that, and I'm not going to put
Yep.
that person on blast, but it happens to me so often that I've forgotten about it, to the point where I should be teaching this as like a basic lesson. It sounds very elementary, but honestly, if you could just be on time and follow up with your customers, you'll probably eliminate 90% of your competition. So when I say competition, if you're a plumber and you're up against, all the other plumbers in the phone book, or, when you
Mhm.
go to search on Google, and when I have my toilet clogged, I'm going to keep on calling. But if nobody picks up the phone, like, I'm the first person that picks up the phone, I'm gonna roll with that person regardless,
Yes, that's
right?
me.
Yeah,
Mhm.
right. Me too. So following up is key. And here's the other thing I thought about too. And I know I'm rambling. I'm not mumbling, but I am rambling because I do want you to jump in. But I have one more piece. Like, I also know that, as we get busier and as we move forward in our careers as business owners, I get it. You can't pick up every phone call in 5 minutes. You also might have a 9 to 5. You can't be Johnny on the spot and just accepting. I get that, but
Mhm.
there are things that you could do. Once you get a little bit of change, you could automate certain things. You could check your
Yeah.
voicemail more frequently. You could follow up in text. And when you do have money, you can start to outsource. So if that's you getting like a virtual assistant, or subscribing to some type of, answering service where they're going to take the phone calls for you. And if it's an emergency, they're going to text you. We have to do better at that. But, before you even get to that, if you are a solopreneur, a real estate agent, small business owner, you have a side hustle, please check your DMs, check your voicemails, check your text messages. I know it's a lot, but yeah, just follow up. So following up, I've seen that as a real big opportunity in this new space.
Mhm.
I did see it as much before, but I'm seeing it a lot more on this side, where again, people just aren't where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there. And when they're not, when they're supposed to be there, there's no phone call, there's no nothing. Then I'll reach out and I can't get you. And then it's like, oh, I forgot. So talk to me about it, Omieka.
So it's funny that you say that because I have a question that aligns directly with that. And so I'll touch on what you talk about and then we'll pivot a bit, right?
Let's do it.
So let's start with the not being on time. At the end of the day, time is something that you can never get back.
Right.
So I have this saying, I said, you can waste my money, you can even waste my food, but
Right.
absolutely do not waste my time because I cannot get that back. Nobody really knows how long we're here for.
Right.
So we have to make sure that we're making the best effort to take advantage of the time that we do have. Especially if you are planning on or you may have already entered into a contract with someone, then you're obligated to
Right.
show up and to follow up,
Right.
right? So I'm a stickler, and I think I said this last week. Like, I'm usually early. Okay,
Hmm.
that's me being on time.
Right.
As far as the not following up part, I just don't understand why there's such a huge gap in
Right.
understanding when it comes to that. Because, like, for you and I and other people that are like us, like you said, that's like one on one. That's like so
Right.
elementary.
Hmm.
But it seems like that's an area where we should be teaching others
I
how
think so too.
to respect our time, right?
Hmm.
Because I feel like if you show up late consistently, you don't respect me.
Right.
and you don't respect my time. And I
Right.
take offense to that.
It's
So,
especially when you
um,
don't follow up.
absolutely,
So
and
they go
that's
hand in
exactly
hand.
where
Right.
I was going. And this is for people who are business owners, or if you have a 9 to 5 and a hustle on the side. Like, this has you have to show up in these spaces in both those worlds in order
Right.
for your career to grow, in order for your business to grow. Because nobody in their right mind wants to deal with someone who consistently does not show up.
Right.
So you mentioned that I was having an issue with my hair or my nails, but it was my hair,
Right.
and it has happened to me twice. So with the second person, it was on the first attempt.
Oh wow.
So guess what I did?
There's no second attempt.
Is no second attempt. I moved on, and let me
Right.
tell you, I drove out
Right.
40 minutes away from my home and turned my little Tesla right back around and went
Right.
back to the house
Makes sense.
because I'm not going to not meet my other time restrained
Right.
obligations because you messed up.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, my brand is on the line. My reputation
Right.
is on the line. And I'm going to protect that at all costs. So I it's just a pet peeve and it
Me
really grinds
too.
my gears. It
Yeah.
really grinds my gears because the time that I took to reach out to you multiple
Right.
times and could not reach you, I could have been assisting someone who really needs my help and
Right.
who really wants to start some type of working agreement or working
Relationship.
relationship with me.
Hmm.
Yes, so I definitely understand. That's my
Yeah.
2 cents
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah.
If you're listening, we would love to hear your take on this
Yeah. Exactly.
because this is something that we talked about like 2 weeks in a row. So
Right.
it's a trend, as
It
we
is a
say in
trend.
the corporate
Uh,
world, right?
yeah. And
It's
what's
a
funny,
trend.
yeah, what's funny, it's a pet peeve of mine too. And I wasn't going to talk about it, but even for this podcast, we had a designated meeting time. And I'm usually on time. I try to be early. Um, but we've had snafus, things happen. And I had another appointment that ran from an hour ago up until this time. But
Mhm,
15 minutes before the end, I'm like, hey, I have this thing going at 6 o'clock. And
mhm,
up until the wire, the person is still asking questions. So that told me that they are not even aware of their own time, right?
mhm,
And the
mhm.
one thing that I think that we share in common, and that's a good thing, is probably because I think we've been taught this from working in corporate. Like,
Yes.
as soon as I left corporate, the one thing that I learned is that people don't use their calendar the same way that I use my calendar, right?
No.
And in corporate, there used to be a thing that I used to say. I'd start a call at 2 o'clock and I'd be like, hard stop at 2:30, hard stop at 2:45. And hard
Yes.
stop means that no matter what's going on, I'm out.
I'm out.
Y'all can stay talking. But what has
Yes.
happened is I haven't been able to transition the hard stop over into like the private sector
Mhm.
because usually my audience, the person I'm talking to, doesn't even understand what that means because they're so
Correct.
disillusioned with
Correct.
they don't even use there's no calendar app on your phone. So I'm sending invites and doing stuff, and they're not getting pop-ups. They'll be like, "Oh, I forgot." I mean, so it's frustrating. But that being said, I don't like to vent without having
Mhm.
solutions. So
Yes.
I'm gonna drop a solution or at least an option. If you could drop a solution or an option as well, that'll help. And I'll drop one for the time, the timepiece being
Mhm.
early, being late, and that's gonna be it's two-piece part or two-part piece. Yeah, either way. One, use your calendar, but then two, scheduling in buffers. So one of the things that I did that was wrong today was not scheduling in a buffer. Even though I thought that this person would be okay, they obviously weren't. The buffer could have been handy for me too, maybe a 15-minute buffer to get water, go
Mhm.
to the bathroom, walk around, get my thoughts together,
Mhm.
prepare for the next thing. Because then
Yes.
I went in unprepared, and that's also something that's going to dim my light when it comes to personal branding. Like I know that we're going to be okay, but what if this was a brand new
Yes.
meeting, and I
Yes.
came to the call unprepared, right?
Yes.
That'd have been my fault.
Mhm.
So one of the solutions that I'd like to give out to anybody that's listening, whether you're a real estate agent, a business owner, or if you're not even there yet, use your calendar, and then while you're scheduling up and building up your calendar, because they say that empty space is like the devil's work. Like that's where he can kind of
Playground.
jump in. His
Mhm,
playground where he can
mhm.
kind of jump in. But what you do is schedule buffer time too, even if you just
Yeah.
label it break or walk
Lunch,
around
something.
lunch
Yeah,
something. Yep. So
yeah,
that'd be my
absolutely.
tip. Do you have any tips for us with following up or with scheduling?
So, yes, on following up, my tip would be if you have time to read an email, you have time to respond to the email.
Ooh, that's a strong one.
That's my tip. Because if you know you
I like
only
that.
have 30 seconds before you go into your next
Don't even open the
project
email.
or meeting, don't even
Yeah,
open it.
don't even open it. I like that a lot.
Because once you read it, you're
You've
not going to
committed.
go back to it and
Right.
you're committed. And what if the
Yeah.
person put a read receipt on it? Because
Yeah.
that's me. I'm read
All
receipt
right, man.
queen.
All right, Miss Regency. I like that tip a lot. I like that tip a
Just
lot. Yeah, yeah.
that is how I stay in proactive mode.
Hmm.
If I don't have time to actually respond,
Yeah.
I'm not even going to read it.
How
I'm
often
not
do you
even
open
going to
up?
attempt to open it up.
How often do you address email per day?
Personally,
And
probably
and and
about
professionally. And professionally.
so personally, probably about 4 times
Okay.
per day, depending on what's going on. So I'll give you an example. When I woke up this morning, my mind tried to play tricks on me because my mind was telling me that we had a podcast recording tomorrow on Wednesday.
Okay. Okay.
But in my soul, I felt like my mind was wrong.
It was
So
conflicting,
what
right?
I do, I go on my phone, I search, and I said, "Oh, it is today, 6 p.m. Let me go ahead and add this to my calendar now," because I failed to do so when I originally received it, right?
Right.
But I knew it wasn't yesterday, so I knew I had not missed it. So
Right.
I went and I added it to the calendar. And what else works for me when I add it to my work calendar too to block out time so
Yes.
nobody interrupts me.
Yes.
Or if I see, okay, I have a recording at 6 and I'm in Dunwoody and I need to get to the south side of Atlanta, I know I need to leave at a certain time.
Right.
So that's what I did today. Professionally, with my career, it's all day action because stuff is just coming in. It's just coming in. But I use that those same rules that apply. If I
Right.
know I cannot respond to it, because of course you have your little window pane and you can see a snippet of what it is
Right.
without even clicking on it, I'm not even
Right.
going to click on it because
Hmm.
I know I can't give this my undivided
Yeah.
attention
Yeah.
at this time.
Yeah. I
So
like that a
I
lot.
love the use your calendar because
Yeah.
that's what we have them for. Like you can
Right.
literally say, "Hey, I'm not gonna say her name because she's gonna think I'm talking to her. Add this to my calendar."
Right. Right. You
Done.
really could.
Okay,
Yep.
done.
Yep. I use
Yes,
her, and I also use Google Assistant because I like the Google framework or platform.
uh
But you could
huh,
also add Google Assistant too. But you're right, like calendar
yeah,
is what's up. But I do like that, not opening
yes,
up an email until you could commit to actually doing whatever action is in there. And
yes,
sometimes you might roll the dice and it's just informational only and you don't have to take action. But more than
yeah,
half the time, it's going to require either a reply or some other physical action to be taken. So if you don't have
absolutely.
time to do it, don't do it.
Don't
I
do
love
it.
that.
Don't
Love
do
that.
it. Absolutely, because I promise
Yeah.
you, you're gonna forget. So
Right,
my
right.
question, since we've covered that, my
Yeah.
question for you and our audience is, how do you show up for others?
Ooh, strong.
That's what I want to know. Because of course, it comes with the story. So I'm gonna tell my story to give you
Right.
time to think about how you really show up for others. Okay? Because this has to do directly with who you are as a person, your brand, right? That's what we've been talking about here for the last 20 minutes. So, how I show up for others. Number one, I put myself in their shoes. Okay. I think about the fact that if this were me, if the tables were turned, what type of treatment or service or brand would I like to receive from this
Right.
person? Right. So I switch roles. I put myself in their shoes.
Hmm.
Number two is I want people to know if I give you my word, you can take it to the bank.
I like that.
That speaks to me, that speaks to my brand, and that's in my personal life and in my professional life. So if I say something, if I say that I'm going to do something, you can bet I'm going to do that. Okay.
Right.
Number three, because I'll give you another one of another way that I show up for people, I check in.
Mm.
I check in just randomly,
Ooh.
just to make sure that you're okay.
Right.
If I have a minute and I'm just, let's just say I'm sitting at my desk and I'm kind of like scrolling through my text messages and I notice that somebody that I typically exchange messages with, a couple of times a week and they're way at the bottom,
Yeah.
that
You
means
bump them
I
back
I
up.
haven't connected with them recently. So
Right.
I'm just going to send them a hey, I'm just checking in on you message. Now, whether they respond, that's on them. But
Right.
I know that I reached out to them to just say hello. I know you're
Right.
busy. I just reached out just to check on you, make sure you were good. So those are my three ways. That's how you know that you're dealing with Omieka.
Right. I like
That's
that
my
a
three
lot.
ways.
Yeah. So, all
Mhm.
right. So, marching orders, you guys have some time or had some time. You should have already started filling up the chat box. So, whether you're on LinkedIn or if you're now watching on YouTube, wink, wink, we're now on YouTube. Go ahead and put it in the chat. How do you show up for others? Um, what your exercise did was force me to think about how I do it. And for me, the one thing that stands out is your number one, making sure that I'm always thinking with other people in mind, meaning that I'm putting myself in their shoes.
Mhm.
And, I always say, just treat people how you expect to be treated. And even if not that, then better. Treat them better than you expect to be treated, right? Because even if you have no expectation for yourself, if you could just still rise above that, that'd be good. And then I really like what you said. Your number three was the follow up or check on people piece. I've done that before, but I have a real opportunity to do better than that. One of my older bosses, but not older in age, just in time. This could have been 8 years ago. And this is going to tie right back to scheduling and calendar. He would
Mhm.
actually put, this is Tori Cardinelli. He would actually put gratitude call on his calendar at 3 o'clock every day for 15 minutes.
Wow.
And he went beyond just texting. He would call somebody he hasn't called in a long time. And it wasn't just a checkup, it was actually gratitude to say either thank you or I appreciate this or that, or I've been thinking about you.
Nice.
And I seen him do it every day. And it's something that I wasn't consistent enough with and I couldn't gravitate to it,
Mhm.
but it reminded me of again, what he was doing, what you said you're doing, something that
Mhm.
he was doing. And I think by texting, especially how you have a framework for, going towards the bottom and bringing them back up and not
Yeah.
feeling any pressure for them to respond. It's just a check in. I think
Mhm.
we all could take action in that. So I like that a lot.
Yes,
I like that a
absolutely.
lot. Yep. Yep.
Absolutely. I know they're feeling in the chat because like people today, I feel like we're thinking outside the box.
Yeah, you
I
have to.
feel like we're holding each other accountable.
Right.
Um, and I feel like we're helping to build brands
Yep.
because it could
Mm.
be something that we share that somebody is not doing that they
Right.
could implement in their
Right.
process or in their daily activities or daily life, that can help them personally and professionally.
Agreed.
So I have another question.
I'm ready. Let's do it.
What does your brand say about you?
Is this for me or is this for the audience?
Both.
Both? Okay. So for me, I'm going to answer that one quickly. And I could only answer it because I hear it. I hear it from almost everybody. And I think the one word would be just be like professionalism. Like people always think that I'm turned on and like I mean people that know me closely for real, like know that I
Mhm,
like to have fun, I could crack up and I could joke or whatever. But
mhm.
the first impression people get of me, sometimes they're intimidated by me because they're like, I'm always so like, I want to use the word serious, but they always use the word professional.
Yeah.
And even when I ask for testimonials, the word professional or professionalism pops up a lot. Um, so from just, if I had to put it in one word, it'd be professionalism. The other, if you had like a word cloud, so the other words that
Uh-huh.
would pop up in the cloud would be like business owner, entrepreneur,
Mhm.
or entrepreneurialism, content. There are people
Okay.
that only know me for like being a photographer, and I don't even take pictures anymore, but people still know me for that, even though I don't
Uh-huh.
advertise it. So, if somebody reaches out, I'll still
That's
do
a
it because I
good
like it.
thing.
Yeah, it is a good thing. That tells me
Mhm.
that my personal brand, even from back then, is still strong. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I always like to do is still incorporate pieces of the old brand with the new brand. Even as you hear me talk about real estate, I'm trying to figure out how I could interweave those things because I understand that people are following me. The people that don't know me for real, I'm not an
Mhm.
influencer or anything like that, but I know that there are a handful of people that follow me for certain things,
Mhm.
and I kind of always want them to kind of be or feel satisfied that they're getting from me what they want. So it might be a spiritual word, an encouraging
Mhm.
word. It might be a picture of a photograph. But no matter what, it's always going to be professional. You're not going to see anything ratchet on my on my page
Yes.
or nothing crazy happening. Try not to curse, at least publicly, right? God is watching, so he knows when I curse.
You know.
But yeah, he knows. But for people that see me online over the past 10, 20 years, I try to keep it very professional. What about you?
I like that. So my brand says about me that the first word that comes to mind is dependable. So my friends, my family, my clients know that they can depend on me.
That's a good one.
I'll go in my word cloud like you did,
Okay.
and other words that will pop up would be I would add professional for to the resume as well.
Mhm.
I would add credit repair expert because
Like
that is
that.
something that um, I had a previous business and I executed very well in that space. And so people still look to me um, for assistance in that area. I would say definitely I am a, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm a money mentor. I would say money mentor, um, definitely a budgeter, definitely a planner. Like I'm always planning for the future.
Right.
And I'm a wealth creator.
I
Those
like
are
that.
the words that I would use to describe me and my brand. Yes,
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm gonna take it one
yes.
step further. For those that are
Mhm.
listening, not for you, Omika, you did a very good job, eloquently describing that. But I'm gonna reverse it for the people in the audience. In the chat below, tell me the one word that you think that people around you are using when you're not around, right? So tell me what
Mhm.
you think they're saying when you're not around. And whatever that word is, that's honestly your personal brand. Because sometimes,
Yes.
like we like to have like a vision of who we are and what we do, and sometimes that doesn't align, right? So
Mhm.
if you're in the room and you left the room, what would people say? Would they say that hey, he's always late, or would they say that
Mhm.
she's dependable? What would they say? Would they say,
Yeah.
"Hey, I can't
What would
trust
they
that
say?
person"? And then right, and if you don't know, it's a good opportunity to take, the 5 people that's the closest to you, and even a couple of people that's not that close to you, and just be like, "Hey,"
Mhm.
let them know what the mission is. I'm working on my personal brand. I'm trying to get better each and every day, tell me what's the one word. I will not be offended. I will not hold it against you. But again,
Mhm,
I'm trying to grow. What's the one
mhm.
word you think of when you think of me? And you might be surprised. You might be surprised.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely. It's kinda like what I say, somebody may share something that you were not aware of, right?
Right.
Because sometimes we just do things without really thinking about
Yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah.
and
Of
we
course.
don't really think about how it comes off to other people.
Right.
But something that someone tells me or, has told me in the past, you always have to know your audience.
Yes.
So, learn to read the room, all those things. So the reason I ask those questions is because it's leading into the next segment per se. So I'm not sure if you watched the championship last night, basketball, Celtics.
Not all of it,
Yeah,
but I know how it ended.
that's all that matters because I didn't watch it either, but I know how it ended.
Mm,
So I had a conversation with a friend a week ago when the same game that Dallas won, right?
okay.
And so they asked, "Who do you want to win?" And I said, they asked, "Who do you want to win tonight?" And I
Mm,
said, "Dallas." And they said, "Why?" And I said, "Because I like Kyrie and I like Luca." And so the person said to me, "But they don't play defense." I said, "Number one, basketball is not my sport. I only watch it this time of the year. Number
correct.
two, I like certain players, not because of what they do on the court, but who they are off the court."
True.
So just hearing and learning Kyrie's story
Mhm.
with his dad, losing his mom, and
Right.
now, he has pretty much opened up an entire lane for his dad. So he has just pretty much implanted generational wealth into his family like that.
Right.
And just hearing his story, knowing his story, and watching how he interacts with other people
Mhm.
is why I like him. And
Same.
some people might think, "Oh my God, that's weird. Like, why wouldn't you like him, as a basketball player?" Because I don't care. I don't care about that. I
Right.
care about who this person is when the cameras are not rolling.
Right.
And so I had to kind of like explain that, and the person thought that it was funny because I'm sure that was the first thing that popped up in her mind. Well, why are you even watching this?
Mhm.
Duh, because he's playing.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
and I like Luca for similar reasons,
Right.
but I don't necessarily have like a favorite person or a favorite team. I have favorite people. And again, it's because
Right.
of who they are behind the scenes.
Right.
That's what matters to me. That's how I connect with them, especially if it's not football. That's really
Right.
how I
Right.
connect with them.
Yeah.
But that is why I asked the questions that I asked today because when I think of Kyrie, I think of character.
Right.
I think of integrity. I think of respect.
Mhm.
So that's what prompted these questions tonight. And it's okay, for anybody that's listening, it's okay to like people for who they really are.
Right. I
What
agree with you.
what would we have done or what were we doing before social media? Before everybody was doing it for the ground.
Right, 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 right.
We got to know people.
We did.
And I feel like we have skipped that process because the world is in such a microwave mentality that
Right.
we don't really take the time to get to know people. So,
I agree.
my advice to you all that's listening is get to know somebody new this week
Right.
that you don't know and
I
get to
like that.
know them for who they are. That's the challenge.
I like it a
Mhm.
lot.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna step on that. We're gonna end with that because it's such a strong marching order that we're gonna come back to the next pod with homework for each other.
Yeah.
on what you just said. I'm gonna,
Yeah.
you know, I think I'm good at it, but I want to do it with more intention.
Yeah.
Meaning that, sometimes I just meet people on the surface, but I'm
Mhm.
not getting to know who they are as a person. And there's a
Yeah.
difference. And I think that some of us also might be shocked, even when it comes down to athletes, movie stars, singers, that the person that you like, when you get to know them deeper, you might not like them as much when you figure out or find out what they stand on, right?
Yeah.
Or what their bigger goals are, what their beliefs are.
Mhm.
So I agree with you. And two things could be true at the same time.
Mhm.
I want to go back to the Celtics and the Mavs before we close out. Like I
Mhm.
also wanted the Mavs to win, and I wanted them to win because of Kyrie. But I also knew that the Celtics were a better team, and
Yes.
just by the numbers that they'd probably win the whole thing. And I saw that after they did 3 games, like
Yeah.
it would have been almost impossible for the Mavs to come back because they just created
Yeah.
that momentum. But the two
Mhm.
things could be true. You can, really like one person and want them to win, but know that they have, this other greater obstacle in front of them that makes it less likely for them to win. And I think that's
Yeah.
okay. That's okay. But
Absolutely.
yeah, great point, great
Mhm.
topic. Give me the homework one more time.
So the homework is to get to know someone new
Hmm.
over the next, we'll say over the next 7 days.
Yep.
Get to know someone new
Hmm.
and like really get to know them. Like meet. I want us to start being intentional when we expand our circle.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So that's the homework. Get to know someone new and just figure out what you like about them
Great.
and let
Great.
them figure out what they like about you.
Awesome. Now we appreciate that.
Yeah.
So we're gonna wrap up. You've been listening to Just Kicking It with Kaz and Omieka. This is episode 5. There will be an episode 6 because we're gonna see you there with your homework, right?
Yes.
So one of the things that I do is, as you heard before, I help entrepreneurs, business owners, and real estate agents grow their personal brand online. You can find me at www.casthompson.com or Cass Thompson on your favorite social media network. I'm here to help you out. And Omieka, where can people find you?
So you can find me at rainydayplanner.com and it's spelled REIGNY. You can find me on all social media platforms at Rainy Day Planner. If you want to email me, hit me up info at rainydayplanner.com.
All right, folks and friends, thanks for joining in, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Have a good one.